Hey guys, happy Sunday. Thanks for stopping by for another episode here at alliseeisW, where we talk about stocks, crypto, and finance. In today's video, we'll be covering latest updates with Ethereum as well as talk about Bitmine Immersion Technology, ticker BMNR, the biggest ETH treasury company to date. This is led by Chairman Tom Lee. In fact, the company Bitmine Immersion Technology started off as a miner and it recently pivoted to become an ETH treasury company, and that has gained a lot of investor interests. And that is why we're seeing the stock price, hover up significantly over the course of the last several months. Now, most of you are wondering how high can ETH and BMNR go? We'll go through all of those details using technical analysis indicators. Now, if you're new to this channel, first off, I would really appreciate you hitting the like, subscribing, turning on the bell notification, and you don't want to miss out. I will be playing an epic video clip of Tom Lee and how BMNR may potentially be paying out dividends. Let's begin, guys. Grow the Pie poses each economic activity is equivalent to nation states. Ethereum ecosystem 30 billion dollars annualized. We have Malta country GDP that's at around $25 billion. Jamaica GDP $21 billion. Ethereum would rank in the top 110 countries territories, 194 with 2025 IMF forecasts. Just like the internet absorbed much of the world's economic activity, so with will Ethereum. So when we look at Ethereum's ecosystem, they make money off of application revenue, chain revenue, and that's basically the economic activity. That comes out to, $30 billion, year over year annualized growth. Gordon posts, this is truly insane. Two OG whales with 90,000 plus Bitcoin are dumping Bitcoin to buy ETH. In just 4 days, they have sold 1.4 billion in Bitcoin to buy ETH. They still hold over 8 billion in Bitcoin and will likely be dumped to buy ETH. ETH isn't going to the moon. It's fucking going to another galaxy now. So you see 7 years ago, this Bitcoin OG just, converted to buy ETH. That's showing that ETH is really gaining traction right now. Financial institutions like BlackRock, even Trump, they're buying ETH left and right, and retail is eventually going to start FOMOing in. TED posts only 18.3 million ETH is left on exchanges. Ethereum supply shock loading. So what are we seeing? ETH is getting more and more scarce. So similar to Bitcoin, when we saw the scarcity of Bitcoin kick in, ETH is having the same issue right now where OTCs and exchanges, Ethereum's getting more and more scarce, and that's going to drive up the price of ETH. Tom Lee posts happy Saturday, and of course, today is Sunday. Happy Sunday as well. He's saying, trust in the Lord and do good, dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Psalms, 37:3. Have a blessed weekend. So, we have trust, faith, and that's why we BMNR. Jim Kim posts, if the law only allowed me to invest in one stock, I'd choose Tesla. If I could pick two, I'd add Palantir. If I could invest in four, I'd include Bitcoin and BMNR. Bitmine BMNR posts USD dominance in stablecoin is basically 100%. USD is 27% of GDP. USD is 58% of global central bank reserves. USD 100% of crypto pairs. This is why White House likes stablecoins for USA, ticker BMNR. Big Bull Mike posts BMNR is $200 in the room with us. So with his technical predictions, well before November of 2025, he's forecasting that, BMNR may very well get to that $200 range. And it's very possible. I really do think, Bitmine immersion technology is going to be like the next MicroStrategy. Tom Lee is becoming the new Michael Saylor of ETH. And this is why BMNR is gaining a lot of traction, investor interest. And I think that where we are right now, the price is definitely undervalued. Tom Lee tracker, let's take a look at this. Tom Lee and Bitmine, BMNR now hold more than 7 billion worth of ETH according to Arkham Exchange. Put that into context. $7.2 billion just because they have ETH on their treasury reserve. I mean, they have 1.5 million tokens at the value of $7.2 billion. Imagine ETH going to like 10,000, 20,000. How much money will Bitmine immersion technology have with FASB accounting change? Unrealized gains will be considered, ETH as a commodity, and that's going to be very beneficial for BMNR. I really do think over the long term course, I wouldn't be surprised. This company will grow and grow similar to strategy, become $100 billion company, and eventually we'll be talking about S&P 500 inclusion for BMNR. We know Tom Lee, he's fund strat. He has Wall Street backing, and even ARK investment. Kathy Wood invested into BMNR. Looking at technical analysis of ETH, we continue to see a beautiful, consolidation stair step pattern with ETH. Back in May, we had prices down to like 1300. Everyone was just, hesitant from ETH at that time. And it was below the Ichimoku cloud. Since May 8th, we had price push up to 2000, and it's been climbing since. It's been sunshine and rainbows hovering away from the Ichimoku cloud, getting away from that resistance. We're seeing volume increase again, which is a good thing. Back in August 22, we saw volume kick in significantly as well. That was, related to the news from Jerome Powell alluding to the Fed, lowering interest rates in the month of September. So this is very bullish. I think this is looking very good, seeing ETH hover at 4,700 through the weekend. And as we head into the market opening, I think there's going to be a lot of investor interest, with the market economic expansion. We're going to have the velocity of money speed up with more investments, into like small cap, large caps. Why? Because now with Federal Reserve, lowering interest rates, commercial banks will be able to, borrow more money, and that will reduce rates for the consumers, whether that's mortgage rates, credit cards, all of that. I think that's going to lead to more investments, deposits into like apps like Coinbase, Robinhood, you name it. But just technicals right now, I think we're going to see some nice push up, whether that's going to be in September. We're getting close to the end of August, so I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't break through 5,000, but you never know. Maybe next week, as we head into the last week of August, we may very well push up into the 5,000 range. But definitely, you know, Polymarket is saying 88% we're going to break through, 5,000. I think that's going to be like 95% chance of that happening in the year 2025. I think September, as we know, it tends to have a bearish activity for ETH, but I think this year is going to be different. We have macro changes. We have financial institutions like BlackRock buying up ETH. Things are different now. Trump's buying up ETH. Retail is beginning to see the value in cryptocurrency. Soon we're going to be seeing like 7,800 in this year alone. On a different scale, Tom Lee is saying ETH is going to 16,000. Let's take a look at technicals of BMNR. So back in June, when the company announced they were going to become an ETH treasury company, staying away from, the mining capacity. And of course, there's competition. There's CapEx there. Transitioning really got investor interest. Stock price went from like $4 all the way to 160. Relative strength was in overbought situation. Definitely was going to see some, cool off where price just dipped. And, this was where I was, forecasting right when we hit to that $29. I felt that was the bottom. I did, recommend to buy around these prices. However, that's okay. I mean, even though it ran up to 30 to 70, it's been pulling back in this consolidation flag. So, definitely still a buying opportunity at around $53. On Friday, it had a nice run up with the news, going up like 12%. But I still think that this is still a good opportunity to, consider looking at BMNR. And of course, this, always do your research when you invest and take my information as guidance. But as you look at the relative strength currently, it's in that, stable range. the volume for OBV is, increasingly going up as well. So that's a good thing. We're breaking out of this bull flag. I think that, we're going to start seeing a reversal pattern. I'm forecasting we're going to get somewhere around that 77, $88 as a first stair step, get to that, that new resistance level, and then have it consolidate, become the new support at around 77, 88. And then we're going to be off to the races to get back to the prior resistance. As ETH starts pushing up, up to like 5,500, we may very well break, through this green barrier or hover very close to that green barrier. So we will see. It's only a matter of time, but I'm very bullish that BMNR is going to have some huge upsides through the rest of the year. But as we look at like 3 years from now, 5 years from now, BMNR, I don't think it's going to be in the double digit range. It's going to be somewhere to the level of strategy.
Investment says stablecoins are going to go from 250 billion to 4 trillion. That's an exponential demand growth for Ethereum.
They're replacing money market funds.
Correct. And it's dollarization and all that. Ethereum pays a 3% native yield if you stake it. So the 6.6 billion held of Ethereum is over $200 million in net income right now. The day we turn on staking, not only is there no debt on Bitminer, it's going to pay you $200 million a year in dividends.
And what do you do with that? Buy more Ether?
Or we might just pay it out as cash dividends.
Where does that 3% native yield come from? Is that gas fees that users are paying to use ETH?
Well, it's called proof of stake. So Ethereum doesn't have a proof of work model where you're competing for a block reward. It's saying if you hold ETH and you agree to stake it and validate transactions, you earn the staking fee, which is 3%.
Okay. So that's where that's coming from.
Yeah. And then there's a power law force at work that if we get to 5% of Ethereum, we become a really benevolent stake.
So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed another episode here at alliseeisW. If you enjoyed this content, I would really appreciate you hitting a like, subscribing. Also, put it down in the comments how high you think ETH can go. What's your price prediction of BMNR, where you're watching from. Thanks, guys. Also, I hope that you can catch me on my live stream later today at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thanks, guys.